Dalton Kincaid rumored to be balling out during OTAs week 2, and Dawson Knox has been openly shocked about some of the stats from Dalton Kincaid coming out of college, comparing them to himself. Welcome to my channel here, Bills News Consolidated week 2 OTAs. Unbelievable news coming out of here, and yes, I know they're in shorts, they don't have full pads on, but Dalton Kincaid speaking facts to Dawson Knox and basically stating that he had 16 receptions in a single game. Dawson Knox joking that he only had 16 receptions coming out of college. I checked, Dawson Knox had 39 receptions coming out of college. He had 0 touchdowns and only 605 yards receiving. And it's really interesting when you take a look at Dalton Kincaid and his college stats. Dalton Kincaid completely balled out of control, having over 100 receptions, having over 1,000 yards receiving, and 16 receiving touchdowns. Dalton Kincaid is that true piece for the Buffalo Bills. Actually having the stats in college should have a much easier transition to the NFL, and it's just absolutely unbelievable. When you look at Dalton Kincaid, that 16 reception game, he had over 234 yards receiving and a touchdown in that game. That is absolutely dynamic for a tight end. Dawson Knox didn't even come remotely close to having 100 yards receiving coming out of college. Dalton Kincaid did it 3 times, almost 4 times, because one game was 99 yards receiving. Dalton Kincaid has been rumored to be flying around this football field during training camp here, or during OTAs week 2. Even Josh Allen openly admitting how fluid he is getting in and out of breaks, and you can see it in the highlights from some of the Bills reporters. A lot of the video shows how agile and fast Dalton Kincaid is. Now, we have to keep in mind, again, this is OTAs, this is without pads. You know, everyone making a big deal that Stephon Diggs is not there, but again, this is without pads. You're taking away a big element of what football presents, which is physicality. And that is the theme that the Buffalo Bills want to represent this year, is being physical. And I really think, you know, you have a guy out there like Dalton Kincaid, like a Dawson Knox, tight ends who rely on doing both. You have to be able to block. You have to be able to receive. Even Dawson Knox said that's the reason why he loves being a tight end, because you get to do a little bit of everything as a tight end. And I think having that physical element not there is clearly helping a player like Dalton Kincaid look a little bit better than what maybe he even will be this upcoming season for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you look good in shorts. Even Sean McDermott saying this isn't real football. He's been fooled before during this time of year. When that physical thing comes during training camp, when we get the pads on, when Dalton Kincaid is having to shed blocks at the line of scrimmage, when you're dealing with a lot more when the pads come on. I want to see how Dalton Kincaid is. And at the same end, I think it's going to help Dawson Knox, because Dawson Knox has really developed himself as a pretty decent blocker and a threat as a blocker. And we know what that does for the tight end, helping them, you know, get open with play action, help get open in the creases of the defense. And I really, really am absolutely loving this. I really think Dalton Kincaid is truly everything the Buffalo Bills completely needed here. You know, Dawson Knox just needed a little bit more time to develop in the NFL, just because he was at Ole Miss. He had DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown. I mean, they weren't throwing the ball to Dawson Knox, and 0 touchdowns, right? It's just very interesting to see how little Dawson Knox was used, but he comes to the NFL with Brian Dable, supposedly the tight end whisperer in the NFL, working with Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, and the Patriots for dang near 10 years. So I think he has helped develop guys like Dawson Knox, Quentin Morris, even Tommy Sweeney. And I really think they're to the point now where they're developed veterans in this league. And the most important thing that I see, and I think it's something that's very interesting to take a look at on these Buffalo Bills, and you take a look at veterans across the league, sometimes they hold their knowledge to themselves because they worry that the younger players on their team are going to develop past them and take their jobs, right? But we have such humble players on this team. We have guys that truly love the NFL, want to progress the NFL sport, and are working with our players like A.J. Klein, working with Dorian Williams, trying to get Balin Spector and Terrell Bernard up to speed, and knowing that they're a little bit more athletic than AJ Klein, knowing that they could eventually take his spot. It's very interesting. It's very interesting to see that dynamic on this team. So we have that dynamic with Dawson Knox helping Dalton Kincaid. And I think it's a great relationship to see. And I think it speaks volumes about Dawson Knox's personality, being a team player, ultimately helping the Buffalo Bills get over that hurdle. And I think Knox knows this is ultimately going to help him. It's ultimately going to help this offense. It's ultimately going to help Josh Allen. Just going to create plays and get us more explosive. And Kincaid truly is like a wide receiver, tight end, hybrid, mixing between both different personnels, 11 and 12 personnels. You're really not going to know what the Buffalo Bills are going to want to do. And Knox even stated, whether him or I are out there, so it's proof that at times we're only going to have Dalton Kincaid out there and Knox is going to be on the sidelines. And at other times, Knox is going to be out there and Kincaid's going to be on the sidelines. And then other times we might see both of them out there. But really, to me, it's going to be interesting. How often is that going to be? Are we going to have 2 tight end sets more often than having 1 tight end out there? And then if so, if it is just 1 tight end being out there majority of the time, what tight end is that going to be? I've been debating it here, and I think in the middle of the field, when you want to be explosive, when you want to get into that red zone, when you want to get into that goal line, a receiving type tight end like Dalton Kincaid makes a lot of sense to me. When you get into that goal line, 20 yards to the goal line, you might need to be a little bit more physical. Punch that ball in there to stretch for that goal line, extend the ball and get it in there. That's why we have Latavius Murray and Damian Harris and a big revamped beast mode offensive line for Bills Mafia here. A high draft pick, Osiris Torrance, Edwards, McGovern, Brandon Shell getting brought in here. And I really am loving what the Buffalo Bills present. Now, Dawson Knox has done fairly well in the red zone. He's been pretty a tight end touchdown magnet for Josh Allen in the red zone. And I think that will continue. I think where we will see the 2 tight end sets will be in the red zone. I highly doubt we're going to see it in the middle of the field unless it's an extremely great matchup problem for the Buffalo Bills and we feel as though we could just run it down a team's throat. But I'm not thinking we're going to do that because it's not truly what the Buffalo Bills do best. Josh Allen, the ball in his hands, slanging the ball to Diggs, Gabe Davis, all these weapons, running up that score, being explosive, getting into the red zone, and now utilizing what we have with Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Damian Harris, Latavius Murray. We're going to be completely balling out of control, not only being efficient, but now running up the score. If you guys enjoyed this video, it would really support my efforts towards this channel. Hit like, subscribe. Every single one of you mean the world to me. I am going to be leaving, going across country on a long trip here, so definitely going to be still dropping videos. But again, show your support, hit like, subscribe. Go Bills.